Let me show you how I take this piece that I'm just playing and experimenting with, not really sure of the outcome, and turn it into something I really like. I liked it enough to add it into my 2 mediums series where I blended in ceramics and paint together. So stick around to the end and you'll see that, but for now, let me show you how I worked out this piece. Because I got up this morning and I just wanted to work on this piece that has been several things. This was the one that had hankies, a vintage hanky. It has newsprint. It has fabric under here, burlap. It's got a little bit pattern pieces. It's been a couple different paintings before this, and I'm a big believer if a painting isn't first successful, eventually it will be. Eventually it will turn into something that you love. So with this one, I started out with kind of a bowl and what could be flowers, but you know, I could change it up. I think I'm gonna change it up, and I'm gonna start with another layer. And I've never done this before, and all of this is because I've never done it before. So I'm going to take, let's see if I can make this happen. I don't want my lines to be completely straight. Now I want to see what's going to happen if I take a piece of paper. Let's use this one. This seems to be my practice paper with everything. I'm going to lay it down this way though. I just want those to spread out a little bit. So I'm not going to press it down because I want it to look a little irregular, like that. I could even take this with the ink on it and lay that back down here. Maybe why some of this is still wet. Let me take one of my little skewers and maybe do some writing. Just some scribbles, or you could actually write. Hitting all the wet spots, maybe even a little bit more. I could take this and even dip it. Oops. And do a little bit more mark making with it. But I do want these lines, these stripes going across to be the strongest. So there you go. That is my next step with this one. I think I'm going to finish this one and show you how it turns out. Okay, so magically a vase showed up here because I obviously needed to have a subject of some sort. Just a board with lines on it wasn't really doing it. So I went ahead and I added in a vase and kind of played around with that a little bit. Simple subject. Like I said, this was all about experimenting and playing on all those layers and textures that were already there. And as many of you may know, I love painting over old paintings. The more texture, the more interest, the more layers, the more history. To me, it really adds to a painting. So once I kind of got that figured out, I decided to go in and I wanted to just play with some colors and see what else I could add. I do like a lot of neutral in my paintings. I like color, but I like neutrals, grays and creams to kind of corral the colors in and calm it down a little bit. So here I am just taking some raw umber, actually, acrylic ink, and just spreading it around on the background. So to start with a dark color and then come back and add light colors over it, it adds an amount of depth. It's the depth, and it gives me a background that I enjoy because I like neutralizing my palette before I add colors in, or actually I really enjoy going back and forth, going light, dark, adding colors, taking colors away, going back in with neutrals. It's all about the back and forth. So here I'm just going to paint over everything. I know I'm not going to lose my lines because I can see them through the layer I'm putting on, but again, it's building up those layers. And as you can see, I'm using an unbleached titanium right here to go in over some of the raw umber. I really have several different colors of whites and off-whites that I use, and I'll go back and forth with those, kind of almost a shade off, but I like, once again, I like that buildup. So I'm using the unbleached titanium, and it's mixing in a little bit with the raw umber, but I like the effect that it's giving me because we wouldn't want the whole background to be painted a solid color. It's the interest, the subtle interest that's going to show up in the background that makes this piece a little bit more interesting. And the lines that were there previously give me a little bit more room to play. It's kind of my playground on the painting. I can go in and paint around some of them and let that kind of be as is until I get into the next steps. So here I'm going to grab one of my little skewers, and while this paint is wet on top, which a lot of times I forget to do, I can go in and scratch through and bring some of those lines forward again in a little bit more subtle way. And whenever I do something like this, I also like to scratch through and lightly hit it with just do one brush over with my brush, just to kind of soften the lines and make them a little bit more irregular. Okay, now it is time to add a little color, and I'm once again using my acrylic inks for that. I like the way that I can get a nice transparent outcome right away. I don't have to mix it. I've already got my design, and I've got most of what I want down. I just want to stain in some colors. This is a favorite color, this misty metallic, I think it's like a sea glass color, but it was dripping all over the place. So wasn't exactly the color I was going for, I think, but it's working. So let me clean up this mess, and then I'm going to grab a credit card, and do a different application. Not sure how I'm going to add these in, add this color in, but let me just smush this out, grab a credit card, and just skim the surface and see where that ends up. Nothing major, just fixing a mistake as I go along. I feel like I pretty much cannot go wrong with this piece because it's got so much happening in a very subtle way. There's nothing that I can't correct. Once again, here I go with an off-white that is a couple shades brighter than what I had down there. And this, like I say, I've always said, this is one of my favorite things to do. It's kind of negative painting and letting it be a little irregular and not making my lines perfect. It's a really good way for me personally. When I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, I'll do this because it keeps me involved with the painting and gives me some time to look around on the surface and see where I want to go with it next. And I'm actually loving the way that this paint is picking up on things. Like that was a piece of lace right there below my brush line, and it was picking up that piece of, it was a piece of crocheted lace, vintage crocheted lace, and I love the way that showed up. This is kind of like, reminds me of when I was a kid and coloring in a coloring book and making sure to stay in the lines. I always really enjoyed doing that. So this is like the grown-up version. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit so you can see the steps that I'm taking, but not have to drag it out any further. Again, I'm just using my credit card to spread these colors out and seeing if they'll drip. And, you know, I just kind of play along and see where it takes me. Okay, you can guess, well guess with me that I'm going to take some time to do a little bit of Stabilo drawing. My favorite art tool, I'm always saying that, but I really do really like just getting in there and loosely sketching out details that I might want to keep or I might want to show up in the painting. I do love using a Stabilo pencil, so you can find a link to that down in my description because I'm always talking about them. It seems like every video I pull out a Stabilo pencil at some point. Once again, I'm going back in with a lighter version. Now you can well imagine by this time the layers are really built up nicely. I've got so much stuff going on underneath this, underneath the surface, which for such a simple design, such a simple subject matter, I really layered on a lot, and I'm going to add in even more color going forward. So I may speed this up so you can see that happening. I don't think I really need to explain what I'm doing. I'm using all acrylic paints and acrylic inks and my Stabilo pencil. I think that's about all I've used on this piece. So I'm going to speed this up so you can see where I'm going with it, and hopefully you'll wait to the end to see how I added ceramics into it and how I recreated this piece in ceramics. It was really a great process to play with both mediums. Seems like no matter what colors I add in, it keeps getting more interesting as I go. Now, I think what I may do with this is, as I add these colors in, I may go back over them again with the white and with the off-white color to let those colors peek out from behind but not be so strong in the piece. Right now I'm going to go over, I think this is a muted pink acrylic ink that I'm using, and go over some of the lines that I have happening in the vase to kind of set that off a little bit more. But again, I cannot say it enough. It's a lot of back and forth. At no layer have I just stopped and thought, okay, this is done. It's not done until it's done, and you can't be afraid to just keep going with it until you're really happy with it. Okay, now a little backstory. It wasn't too long after I finished this piece that I discovered ceramics. So some of you may know that. I went deep into ceramics and had so much fun with it, and started taking some of my paintings and recreating them with ceramics or adding ceramics to them. So this was one of my first pieces that I played with and was trying to figure out how I'm going to add ceramics. Now you'll note in this piece that I've gone back over it with the cream colors and let the other colors peek through, because the color series I was doing was basically in these colors, in the browns and the neutrals, of the little bit of the teal showing through. And so I really love ceramics. So this piece ended up in my show. I did a show with a fellow artist. It was 2 artists, 2 mediums, and I recreated this piece. This is the finished piece you've been watching me work on, and I love how rustic it looks. And I recreated it in the complete piece in ceramics. So this is all a ceramic tile. I think it's like an 8x8 tile or a 10x10. And this is the painting framed. And you'll see the tile framed also both in 12-inch by 12-inch frames. And you can find the link back down in the description where you can see these on my website. They are for sale. They are looking for a home. And I was pretty excited to do this show with my friend and to marry my ceramics and my paintings. So take a look. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.